And on to Hive. Well, this is technically Hive 1. Hive 1 for us is the only hive that we have that is all original except for the queen. Um, I have a problem out here with queens for some reason, and it's something I've got to figure out on my own. But every year, last year we started with a package of bees, and we started with that package on April 13th, and by June 8th they had swarmed, or they were gonna swarm, or no, they actually swarmed. Sorry, by June 8th they had swarmed, and then we had a different swarm from another hive that we had originally that we caught up in that tree, and there's a video of it that wasn't this hive. And anyway, this hive had that, and then we had a little bit of a wasp issue, and we think some wasps got into the hive and actually killed this queen. So this queen got replaced twice last year, which was frustrating enough in and of itself. Well, this year they went to go swarm, and then the weather changed and they didn't swarm. And what my running belief has been is that they then replumped up the queen and started laying again. And since then, she's been doing a lot of good. Um, Last week, we took a frame from here, from this box, which is all honey. We took a frame from up here, and we uh, dropped it into that hive over there so that they could have some extra food. And so what I'm going to look for in this box today is weight. This will probably be my only harvestable honey this year. So we're going to look for weight, and then we're going to look for whether they filled the frame up that I replaced last week, whether they're filling that or not. I will say that the population on this hive is significantly better than the population on that hive over there. They've been coming back now for the last 2-3 weeks, and they've been doing a really good job. And I mean, this hive is super docile now this year. Oh my gosh, that's so heavy. We'll check that one here in a minute because I know that this is mostly nectar and honey. Um, just looking down in it, it looks amazing. The only frame that I'm worried about is this one right here. But we'll get into that here in a minute. I say as I'm getting into it right now. Oh yeah, I'm excited to see this one. So now what we're looking for is um, the forage, the nectar flow here. It's not over, but it's certainly not rampant. Um, the nectar flow is such that I mean, I just don't know that they're going to be adding a whole ton of like heavy nectar. Everything they're adding is kind of um, just little bits here and there, and like I said, from like catnip and stuff, and those aren't major nectar flow sources. So all right, so let's dig into this one. I'll call this box 3. They should be starting to cap this up with honey and resources for winter, and this one does have honey and pollen just like one would expect. I'm going to harvest at least a few frames of honey off of this thing this year, guaranteed. Like, we'll get a few frames of honey, which is more than enough for my wife and I, and more than enough to send to a few people that have really been helping me out this year. I've been working with and talking with Beewise Technologies and a company out of Canada that's called, I believe it's Aviole. They basically put hives on corporate buildings and such. This is probably 80% honey, nectar, and the rest is pollen. So this will be a frame for them for the winter for sure. And these two companies, Beewise is building robotic beehives that are using artificial intelligence to track, monitor, and measure the health of the bee populations that are within it. This is mostly nectar, pollen, and honey. That's good. And the other one is putting beehives on top of corporate buildings and helping to raise corporate awareness for the sustainability efforts that are needed for bees. And I think it's a really cool mission and one that I'm trying to support. I have a feeling like this box is going to be a really good replacement for this box. This thing has pollen, honey. It's almost like they're trying to build it like a brood chamber a little bit. Like it's got honey around the outsides of the frames, and the inside is either pollen or nothing. So it's almost like they're trying to keep it like a brood chamber. Anyway, I'm working with these two companies. Speaking of brood, a bit going out here. Oh my gosh, that's all capped brood on the back side. Some drone brood, which is still really weird. Usually by now you'd think they'd be wrapping down their drone brood. I guess I should be keeping an eye for my queen too, huh? Anyway, I'm working with these two companies and I'm trying to get the corporate world to see how important this issue is, because that's where the money can come from for this sort of for what's needed in our environment right now. What's needed more than anything is people to start building pollinator strips and to enforcing, making flowers and sustainability part of our day-to-day activities. This is almost a full honey frame, but they haven't capped any of it, and they're working on this backside. And I'm just going to let them work on this through the year. I won't put any sugar on this hive because they have enough resources to feed themselves. And then we'll just see what we end up with here at the end of October, or the end of August, September. We'll see what we end up with. But this hive here is weird. It's kind of acting like this upper box is more of a brood chamber, and they're filling it as such. So I may end up moving that one down eventually. We'll see. Anyway, working with these two companies, what I found is there are a lot of companies that are like-minded that are really just trying to create a better life for us and for the bees. So I like working with them. I think that it's important, in my world. I'm not doing this for honey production. I'm not going to ever be a professional beekeeper. I don't intend to monetize keeping bees. I intend to learn as much as I can and continue to evangelize for the needs of more pollinators and pollinator support, more pollinator strips, more flowers, more regenerative farming techniques, less monocrop agriculture. Monocrop is probably more accurate. But that's going to be my mission, and I think it's a good one for me. I don't have the time to run a big apiary and hundreds of hives. We're 16.5, so assuming this is around 16, it's actually 13. That makes what, 29 pounds total? Whew. 29, so not even 30 pounds, and that's only halfway to full weight, which is frustrating. Because this box is full of honey. That hive is empty almost. This hive is about half full, but it's also got brood in it. And this hive is likely to be very much a brood chamber. So this is going to be an interesting year. I had expected to come out of this year with a ton of honey, given how the year started. And then when the weather turned and all the swarming activity and then the laying worker over there and they kind of slimmed down the queen here and all this crap, between all of this, I've just got nothing. Hi, baby. Well, she's kind of pissy. This one here is almost all pollen. Like this is packed with just pollen. And I don't know if you can see this, but let me show you. Like you can see all the colors of pollen in here. Big time. Hopefully. Which is weird. This is an outside frame. And again, you'd kind of expect it to be more honey and nectar than pollen. But these guys know better than I do. No, come on. All right, calm down, everybody. Let's not go doing that. They're getting defensive because their honey this is their winter food, and they get a little bit defensive, thinking that I'm stealing their food, which if I were processing honey, I certainly would be. This is all pollen. Like both frames here, the first two frames are all pollen. It's wild. Got a brood chamber up here. Yeah, she's laying out up here. And last week we swapped this box to the box down below because she's been showing a preference for laying upstairs. Now this is interesting. This frame I'm about to pull out. I don't know if you can hear the bee in my ear, but she is very not a fan of me being in this box. Okay, so we have quite a few eggs and a queen cell that's clearly an emergency well, no, it's not an emergency. It could be an emergency queen cup or a supersedure cell. But she's laid out up here. It's all eggs, larvae, and now's the time of the year that they'll start to actually ramp down brood production for the winter. They'll start to raise bees of a winter physiology. Normal bees here, because of the amount of work they do and the amount of effort they put in, they only live like 30, 40 days. Hi, baby. Well, she is making it her mission to kind of get in my face. This is all capped brood, all laid out all the way. Now is when you'd expect them to start raising bees of a winter physiology and ramping down the amount of brood that they have in the hive to get through winter. She's laid out up here, all right. She's been doing her job. Because, yeah, they got a lot of brood up here. Would be nice to see it be more honey, but that is what it is. Hi. Hi. I know. I'm just frustrating you by being in your house. This is almost all capped honey right now. It's pretty much 3/4 capped honey. This backside has nothing. So this is becoming my conundrum. I've got a full box of honey here. I've got boxes here with half honey and half other, brood and things like that, and pollen galore. I've got this frame isn't even drawn out, and on the back side it's starting to become honey, and that's what you would expect. So what I'm going to have to do with this hive is I'm not going to feed it, but I'm just going to let them work this however it is going to be until about October or about September. And then I'll reassess what I'm going to pull for honey, because we've got to get them the way that a beehive should work is in the lower box should be all your brood, and then on the outside should be a frame of honey and a frame of honey, and then this up here should all be honey by winter, and then this all would get pulled. And what I'm going to have to do is figure out, is it, do I basically all the honey that I thought I was going to be stealing from this hive this year may end up going to feed these two hives if I don't figure this out, because they've got a lot of resources here, but not a lot of capped honey for them, and they got to have about 60 pounds total going into the winter in order to survive. I do insulate my hives in the winter. There's some people who say bees eat less when they're cold. I think that is a mistake. I know from my cold weather training that any animal um, eats more when they're cold. Their body has to consume more in order to stay warm. And so, wow, that's a really light box. Yeah, this is a really big concern for me. I bet you this one isn't even 30 pounds. The good news is, for sure, next year, I have enough drawn comb and enough resources that if I wanted to turn these into another hive, we absolutely could, and we could really quickly. Obviously, we're not going to do that now as we're approaching August, but um, I'm kind of looking at it as the year is almost over already, unfortunately. There just isn't, we've had a dry summer. There isn't a lot of forage for them right now. We do have some alfalfa lands around us. This is all pollen and honey. Same pollen and nothing. So this is pollen and in the middle, and then nothing on the outside, and this is pollen and honey. And this is why I'm frustrated with this hive now, because I don't really know what to do. I'm seeing them bringing in pollen, which is great. Boy, they got kind of upset. Oh, I mean, that's almost solid pollen with a little bit of brood on the bottom, and that is solid pollen with a little bit of brood on the bottom. That's crazy. I mean, they have enough pollen in here to really help them. Hey, guys. Well, they kind of got aggro. They've been pretty chill up till now. That's solid brood right there. Some hatching out right now. We got a little baby, a little young bee hatching out right now. And I'm just keeping an eye out for my queen. I've not seen her a lot. This one has some weird drone brood, but not much else. So this is still kind of empty. Alright, this is mostly brood. And then what I intend to do is sort of let them just rearrange this hive however they want to rearrange it, because now that they'll have some population, they'll be able to move stuff around. And then in October or September, before we button them up for the year, we'll harvest what we can. And we may only get a frame or two of honey this year, but that's more than we got last year. And if I have enough to send a little bit to some friends and stuff, and it's going to be a great year. So it looks like this has it's hard to tell. Yeah, it's got some larvae in it. We pushed her down here last week, I think. Yeah, we did. We grabbed her and pushed her down. And she's definitely been down here laying. She's always kind of elusive, this one. I see her about once every 2 or 3 inspections. Or if I'm really, really looking for her. But I see enough activity that I'm not really concerned about my queen right now. Yeah, that's a full frame of brood right there. Yep. I don't have any reason to go back through here and look for her, so if I don't see her on this next frame or two, then we'll just button them up and let them go. We don't need to test for Varroa right now. They haven't had enough. Interesting queen cell, but it's on emergency. They haven't had enough Varroa, or they haven't had enough open uncapped cell or capped cells that they should have a lot of Varroa mite. And I'm not going to test them while they're rebuilding population to see if they have Varroa mite when I'm pretty sure that there's not much possibility that they could. So, my curse in all of this and my cockiness and the lesson I'm learning is I went into this year thinking this hive was going to be my robust honey producer. Hi, ladies. And they just did not like that at all. Come on, out of the way. But I thought for sure this was going to be my robust honey producing hive. And now I'm just trying to get them through the winter. Just being real. Like this hive is going to struggle to make it. It's super light. It's not got a lot of ton of resources. And I'll be real, I don't know if I'm going to get this hive organized in a way where I'm going to be able to harvest a whole lot from it. Is my point. Like, because I'm not going to harvest if it puts them at risk at all. There's no point. Wow, look at them. Hi. Hi. Anonymous. All right. Everybody down. I'm not going to weigh this last one. I'll weigh this box here in a minute. But I can tell you this one's pretty light. This box here is maybe 20, 25 pounds, something like that. So not a ton. Let's weigh this one in case I didn't. I don't think I did. I'm guessing this one's maybe around 25, 30 pounds, something like that. Yeah, that's 9. 11. So that's 21 pounds. That's awful. So yeah, we may very well end up having to put all the honey that we have between these two hives back into these hives just to get them through winter. Now they have months to cap everything and get everything sealed up, and you know, I still have a feeling we're going to be able to harvest some honey, but it's not going to be the, several frames that I thought we were going to get, especially given the amount of vetch and stuff that we had out here. We had so much purple vetch. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed that one because that one doesn't have any honey supers, if you will, on it. I'm going to check this one now because I didn't, but I'm pretty sure that this one is going to be the only one that I can harvest anything from, if I can harvest at all. So let's just take a little look-see. I don't know if you can see me on the camera or not, or I don't know if I can see myself, but I should be able to hear it. Whoops. All right. Full of honey. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's about 3/4 full and pretty full. I gotta send my grandson some honey at least, Make sure he's got all his sweets for the year. Interestingly, though, I am seeing a lot of emergency queen cells. None of them loaded, but they definitely have emergency queen cells. I don't think my queen is struggling. I think that's just preparation for them just in case. This hive got completely caught with that cold weather. And this is all pollen and honey, just like you'd expect. This isn't capped, though. Oh, there's some brood up here. That's weird. This one's almost like a brood frame, which is weird. That's all honey. That's all honey. And I mean, you can see these frames are just beautiful honey. That's just gorgeous. That's what you want. That's what I'd love, ideally, this whole box to be. But we'll get it consolidated. We'll go into winter. Every box will just have 2 boxes. Or every hive will just have 2 boxes. And then whatever we have to, we can harvest or push aside that isn't going to help them. We'll probably make a little honey bank so that we have a little something to get them going in the winter time or towards the early fall. But yeah, like I said, ideally we'll get this down to 2 boxes here in a couple weeks. This box will have all honey. This box will have a frame of honey on the outside, frame of honey on the outside, and everything in the middle will be brood. And whatever's left, that'll be our harvestable honey. But we got to have that on both boxes. So, plan of action is we are going to feed that hive. We are going to not feed this hive. They have plenty of food. We're going to allow the feed for that hive to allow them to fill up their upper box so that they have honey through the winter. And then we are going to let these guys just continue to build their population and place all their honey where they want it. Oh gosh, I can tell you this much. It's freaking heavy. I'm guessing 50 to 55 pounds. It's lost a little bit of weight, but that's because we took a frame of honey and took it over there. But I'm still guessing it'll be. Let's try that again. Yep, 25 pounds right on the nose. And 25 pounds, right? I was dead on, 50 pounds. So at 50 pounds, they've lost about 5 pounds, but that's only because, like I said, I took this middle frame and we moved it over, which gave a little bit of weight. So that's what's going on in our apiary right now. Not the end of the year that I wanted. And it's, I mean, obviously I'm saying end of year, but we're only getting into August. But right now there's just not a lot for them to be foraging on. So we'll see what happens. We'll see where they go. Hi, mamas. And we'll keep being naturally. That's all we can do. Whoops. Got a lot of bees in here. Let's see, what do I want to do? I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to slap them into the lid. And then I'll dump the lid in here. I probably should check these guys for Varroa. But I'll be honest, I didn't bring my rubbing alcohol out here. And they had a little bit of a break in their laying. So they had a little bit of a break from where Varroa would have, really kind of built up in population. And I don't know if I'm making a mistake here, so I am going to test them next week. But I didn't want to have to run back to the house and get my rubbing alcohol and all that. So there you go. Them's the hives for 2025, end of July. And like I said, they are foraging on catnip right now, so I'm really interested to see how that's going to impact the flavor of my honey, the flavor profile. There is a little bit of fireweed and some other things, so we're not completely out of forage, but it's getting down to the tail end. So anyway, keep being natural. Hope you guys are well. Bye.